Some bands define a decade, and then there are bands that create their own universe. In the 1990s, the Smashing Pumpkins were definitely the latter. They crashed onto the alternative rock scene with a sound that was just different. It was this sprawling, ambitious, and often contradictory mix of heavy metal, gothic romance, psychedelic daydreams, and this incredibly delicate beauty. They sold millions of albums, headlined the biggest festivals, and became one of the most massive musical acts on the planet. Their songs were the soundtrack to a whole generation's angst, love, and disillusionment. But under all those layers of distorted guitars and epic arrangements, a much darker, more personal story was always being told. The man at the center of it all, Billy Corgan, wasn't just writing songs. He was bleeding onto the page. He was turning his deepest traumas, heartbreaks, and struggles into the anthems we all screamed along to. The great paradox of the Smashing Pumpkins is that their biggest hits, their greatest commercial successes, are often their most profound expressions of personal pain. The songs you think you know, the ones that sound like triumph or nostalgia, are frequently masks for something much more unsettling. Today we're pulling that curtain back. We're going to explore the raw, real-life stories that fueled the Smashing Pumpkins' most iconic songs. You'll discover the hidden meanings and harrowing truths woven into the lyrics you've known for years. And by the end, you will never hear these songs the same way again. It starts with one of the most recognizable guitar riffs of the 90s, an opening that feels like sunshine breaking through clouds. It's a sound that's become synonymous with optimism, the perfect anthem for a great day. You've heard this song 1,000 times, but what if I told you it was written from a place of intense, all-consuming, suicidal depression? What if the man who wrote it was actually planning his own death, and this song was his sarcastic goodbye? This is the story of Today. When Siamese Dream dropped in 1993, Today was the song that shot the Smashing Pumpkins into the stratosphere. It was inescapable. The music video, a playful Technicolor road trip, was on constant rotation on MTV. The song's soaring chorus, "Today is the greatest day I've ever known," became an instant earworm, an affirmation of pure joy. It was the kind of song you put on to feel good, to celebrate being alive. And millions of people did just that, completely unaware that they were singing along to a man's darkest hour. To really get Today, you have to understand where Billy Corgan was before Siamese Dream. The band's first album, Gish, had done okay, but the tour that followed pushed them to the brink. Drummer Jimmy Chamberlin was battling a severe addiction. Bassist Darcy Retzky and guitarist James Iha had just ended their romantic relationship, creating nonstop tension. And Corgan himself had sunk into a deep, crippling depression. He was creatively blocked, emotionally wrecked, and just overwhelmed by the pressure. In his own words, he entered a period of serious suicidal contemplation. He said, "I lost the ability to function. I didn't want to go outside, I couldn't write songs. I was really suicidal." He would sit in his apartment for hours, obsessing over taking his own life. It was from this abyss, this absolute rock bottom, that Today was born. The song wasn't a celebration of life. It was a testament to enduring it when every fiber of your being wants to quit. Corgan explained the profound irony at its core. "I just thought it was funny to write a song that said today is the greatest day of your life because it can't get any worse." This is the central paradox that makes the song so powerful once you know where it came from. It's a survival anthem disguised as a pop hit. The cheerful, almost lullaby-like music is a deliberate mask. It's the brave face you put on for the world when you're falling apart inside. It's that forced smile, the hollow laugh, the desperate attempt to convince yourself that things might be okay, even when your brain is telling you they're not. Let's look at the lyrics through this new, darker lens. The song opens with Corgan's soft, almost hesitant voice. "Today is the greatest day I've ever known. Can't live for tomorrow. Tomorrow's much too long." Right away, that seemingly positive opening is immediately undercut. This isn't about looking forward to the future. It's about being unable to even imagine one. The idea of tomorrow is an unbearable weight, so the focus shrinks to just getting through right now, this single day. It's the mantra of someone deep in a depressive episode, where survival is measured in hours, not weeks. Then comes the second part of the verse. I'll tear my heart out before I get out. This line is often misheard or just glossed over, but it's one of the most explicit expressions of the pain behind the song. It speaks to a feeling of being trapped, of preferring self-destruction to facing the world. The bright major key guitar riff that follows feels almost jarring in this context, like a desperate, manic attempt to fight off the darkness.
But it's the second verse where the mask truly begins to slip.
Pink ribbon scars that never forget. I tried so hard to cleanse these regrets. The imagery here is stark and painful, hinting at self-harm, at physical and emotional wounds that feel impossible to heal. The desire to cleanse these regrets is the cry of a soul burdened by its past, desperate for a release that seems out of reach. And then the bridge, the song's emotional climax, where Corgan's voice cracks with vulnerability. I wanted more than life could ever grant me, bored by the chore of saving face. This is the confession at the heart of the song. It's a moment of devastating honesty, an admission of profound disillusionment. The chore of saving face is that daily performance of being okay, a performance that has become utterly exhausting. He follows it with a line that is both a plea and a threat. Can't wait for tomorrow. I might not have that long. This isn't impatience for a better future. It's the chilling acknowledgement that he might not survive to see it. When the song crashes back into its final, triumphant-sounding chorus, it's no longer possible to hear it as simple joy. You now hear the sarcasm, the desperation, the sheer force of will it takes to sing, "Today is the greatest," when you are standing on the edge of an abyss. It's a song about the moment you choose to live, not because life is beautiful, but because you've hit the bottom, and there's nowhere left to go but up. For Corgan, it was a turning point. The song, in its creation, literally saved his life. He found a way to channel his despair into art, and in doing so, created one of the most misunderstood and deeply moving anthems of a generation. The true genius of today lies in this duality. It let millions of people find joy in its melody, while giving a secret, coded message of solidarity to anyone who had ever felt that same private despair. It's a song that understands that sometimes the greatest act of rebellion isn't a scream of rage, but a whispered, defiant insistence on surviving just one more day. The suicidal crisis that gave us today didn't come from nowhere. It was the end result of years of unresolved pain, a darkness that had its roots deep in Billy Corgan's childhood. And if today was the song about the moment he decided to live, another song, written in that very same 48-hour period of intense crisis, was about why he wanted to die in the first place. That song is Disarm. With its sweeping orchestra, dramatic church bells, violins, and a cello, Disarm sounds less like a rock song and more like a haunting film score. It's beautiful, tragic, and epic. But the beauty of the music serves the same purpose it does in today: to create a stark, almost perverse contrast to the brutal violence of its lyrics. Because Disarm is a song about child abuse and the fantasies of revenge that come from it. Corgan has been brutally honest about the song's origins, stating his childhood was marked by physical and emotional abuse from his father and stepmother. The pain and rage from this trauma festered for years, leaving him with deep psychological scars. He once said in an interview, "The reason I wrote Disarm was because I didn't have the guts to kill my parents, so I thought I'd get back at them through song." It's a shocking statement, but it gets to the heart of what the song is: a non-violent act of revenge, a way to process homicidal rage through art. Corgan explained his thinking. And rather than have an angry, violent song, I thought I'd write something beautiful and make them realize what tender feelings I have in my heart and make them feel really bad for treating me like shit. This intent is the key to understanding the song. It's not just an expression of pain, it's a weapon. The beauty is the point. He's using the language of classical, respectable music to deliver a message of profound ugliness, forcing the listener, and maybe his abusers, to confront the tenderness of the child they hurt. The song's lyrics were so explicit that it ran into trouble. In the UK, it was kept off the popular TV show Top of the Pops, and its airplay on BBC Radio was limited. The reason cited was the violent imagery, particularly the line, "Cut that little child." The controversy only cemented the song's power as one of the most raw confessions in rock history. Let's look at the lyrics, which read like a trauma victim's testimony. The opening line is, "Disarm you with a smile." This is the survival mechanism of an abused child. It's about placating the aggressor, learning to diffuse a dangerous situation by making yourself small and non-threatening. It's the forced smile to prevent a fist. The next line, "and cut you like you want me to," is chilling. It speaks to a deep-seated belief that he somehow deserved the pain, a common psychological scar left by abuse. It can also be heard as turning the aggressor's cruelty back on them, but with a sense of grim resignation. He follows this with, "Cut that little child inside of me and such a part of you." Here, he's not just talking about self-harm, he's talking about murdering his own innocence. The little child is the joy that was stolen from him. And by saying that child is such a part of you, he's directly implicating his abusers, telling them that the innocence they destroyed was a part of them, too. The chorus contains perhaps the most devastating lines in the entire Pumpkins catalog. "I used to be a little boy, so old in my shoes." This single couplet perfectly captures the experience of a child forced to grow up too soon. Kids in abusive homes don't get a childhood. They become hyper-aware miniature adults, robbed of their naivete. And then comes the song's central, terrifying thesis. "The killer in me is the killer in you." This is Corgan acknowledging the cycle of violence. He recognizes that the rage he feels, the homicidal impulse he's channeling into this song, was inherited. It's a genetic and environmental inheritance he is desperately trying to break. He immediately follows this with, "What I choose is my voice." This is his declaration of independence. He is choosing to use his art, his voice, as his weapon, instead of the physical violence that was modeled for him. It's his conscious choice to break the cycle. The second verse continues this theme of a lost childhood. "The years burn. I used to be a little boy." The repetition hammers home the sense of loss. Corgan has said, "Disarm" is a hard song for him to talk about because it's about feelings that are almost beyond words. It's about a sense of loss, being an adult and looking back and romanticizing a childhood that never happened. When you listen to the song with this knowledge, the soaring strings and booming timpani no longer sound merely dramatic. They sound like a requiem. It's a funeral for a stolen childhood. In a strange, poetic turn, Corgan has said, "Disarm" became his mother's favorite song on the album. Maybe she heard the beauty and not the accusation, or maybe she heard both and understood. Either way, the song achieved its goal. It turned unbearable pain into something hauntingly beautiful, and in doing so, offered a strange, complex form of catharsis. It stands as a monument to survival, a testament to the power of art to confront our darkest demons, and, if not defeat them, at least give them a name. The stories behind Today and Disarm are incredibly intense, revealing how Billy Corgan turned his deepest personal crises into two of the band's most lasting songs. It's a powerful reminder of how much pain can be hidden behind beautiful music. If these stories have given you a new perspective on the band, make sure you're subscribed because we're about to shift from internal battles to external ones. After finding a way to survive his own demons, Corgan and the band had to face a new monster, global superstardom. And the rage that came with it would produce their most aggressive and iconic anthem. By the mid-90s, the Smashing Pumpkins weren't the underdogs of alternative rock anymore. They were kings. Siamese Dream had been a massive success, and the pressure was on to deliver something even bigger. The result was Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, a sprawling 28-song double album that was a statement. Corgan wanted to create the definitive album for his generation, a white album for Gen X. The lead single chosen to introduce this epic new era was a song that sounded nothing like the dreamy melancholy of Disarm or the deceptive sunshine of today. It was a visceral, snarling beast of a track. It opened with a menacing spoken word line, "The world is a vampire." This was Bullet with Butterfly Wings, and it was the sound of a band ready for war. The song became an instant phenomenon. Its unforgettable chorus, "Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage," became the defining slogan for 90s angst. It perfectly captured that feeling of impotent fury, of being trapped and powerless in a system designed to keep you down. For millions of teens, it was an anthem of rebellion. But for Billy Corgan, the cage was something far more specific. It was the gilded cage of rock stardom. Bullet with Butterfly Wings is a song born from the frustration of fame. After fighting through his personal hell to get there, Corgan found that success came with its own set of shackles. The vampire world he describes wasn't some abstract evil. It was the music industry, the media, and even the fans, all of whom, he felt, wanted to drain him. He once explained that the song was a strong representation of how he felt at the time, that the world is a vampire, meant he felt like everyone wanted to latch on and take something from him. The song's origins trace back to the Siamese Dream sessions in 1993, but the famous chorus line came to him in a moment of pure inspiration in 1995. Lyrically, the song is a direct assault on the music business and the emotional cost of being a performer. The first verse lays it all out. The world is a vampire, sent to drain. Secret destroyers, hold you up to the flames. And what do I get for my pain? Betrayed desires and a piece of the game. The secret destroyers are the critics, the execs, the hangers-on, all the people who profit from the artist's work while trying to control it. He then compares his suffering to a biblical figure known for endurance. Even though I know I suppose I'll show all my cool and cold like old Job. In the Bible, Job is a righteous man whose faith is tested by God through a series of horrific disasters. He loses everything. Corgan, however, is making a bitter, ironic comparison. He feels he's being tested, but unlike Job, he's not staying silent. He's lashing out. This leads directly into that iconic chorus. Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage, is a masterclass in expressing frustration. No matter how much he screams, how much rage he puts into his music, he still feels trapped by the demands of his position. The fame he worked so hard for has become a prison. The second verse is even more direct, referencing the band's experience headlining Lollapalooza in 1994, a notoriously difficult tour. He asks a question, seemingly to himself and his audience. Tell me I'm the only one. Tell me there's no other one. Jesus was an only son. Tell me I'm the chosen one. He's wrestling with the messianic complex often thrust upon rock stars. Is he a truly unique artist, a savior for the scene? Or is he just another product? He then answers his own question with a sneer. And can you fake it for just one more show? This is the voice of a performer on the brink of burnout, questioning the authenticity of his own performance. The cage isn't just the industry, it's the stage itself. The title, Bullet with Butterfly Wings, never actually appears in the lyrics. It's a poetic image that captures the song's central conflict. A bullet is violent and destructive. Butterfly wings are delicate and beautiful. The title itself is a paradox, a fragile, beautiful thing that is also a weapon. It perfectly represents how Corgan saw himself and his music. Beautiful but angry, powerful but vulnerable. The song was so powerful, it earned a Grammy nomination for Best Hard Rock Performance. It was a moment of delicious irony, given that the song is basically a middle finger to the very industry that that was now nominating it. They didn't win. The award went to Rage Against the Machine's Tire Me. But the point was made. It remains the Pumpkins' most ferocious hit, a timeless expression of rage against the machine, whatever that machine may be. After the dense, aggressive, and often bleak emotional territory of Melancholy, one track stood out for its lightness, its electronic pulse, and its overwhelming sense of nostalgia. That song was 1979. It was a radical departure from the band's signature sound. The thundering guitars were replaced by a hypnotic drum machine loop and shimmering guitar lines. It felt less like a rock anthem and more like a half-remembered dream. And it would become the band's highest charting single on the Billboard Hot 100, a massive crossover hit. It tapped into a universal feeling, the bittersweet ache of looking back at the edge of your own life. The story behind 1979 is one of a last-minute miracle. As the band was finalizing the massive track list for Melancholy, producer Flood was being ruthless. He told Corgan the album was still missing something, and that several songs had to go. One of the songs on the chopping block was a bare-bones demo Corgan had, with just a simple 2-chord progression and some mumbled nonsense vocals. Flood was not impressed and told Corgan the song was not good enough. He gave him an ultimatum: come back in 24 hours with something better, or the track was gone.
Feeling the pressure, Corgan went home and worked all night.
He came back the next day with the song fully formed. The iconic drum loop was there, the melody was complete, and the lyrics were written. He played it for Flood, who reportedly listened once, turned to him and said, "It's a hit." He was right. Unlike the raw agony of songs like Today or Bullet, 1979 is a song steeped in memory. It's a coming-of-age story inspired by Billy Corgan's own adolescence. He said the song is rooted in his experiences around age 18, capturing that specific moment between youth and adulthood. It's about that feeling of driving around at night in the suburbs, just waiting for your real life to start. The title itself isn't as literal as you might think. Corgan was actually 12 in 1979, not 18. He admitted he chose the year mainly because it rhymed well with the lines he was writing. But the number evokes a specific era, a time of suburban restlessness and analog freedom. The song isn't about the literal year. It's about the feeling of that period in your life, a time of change, uncertainty, and intoxicating possibility. The lyrics perfectly capture this state of suspended animation. The song begins, "Shakedown, 1979, cool kids never have the time." Right away, he sets a scene of youthful social dynamics. The cool kids represent a world of effortless belonging that feels just out of reach. The first verse paints a vivid picture. On a live wire, right up off the street, you and I should meet, June bugs skipping like a stone, with the headlights pointed at the dawn. The live wire is that nervous energy of youth, the feeling that anything could happen. The June bug skipping like a stone is a beautiful metaphor for the fleeting, erratic nature of time and memory. The headlights pointed at the dawn symbolize a night of aimless adventure that's about to end, a generation driving towards a future they can't yet see. The chorus is a masterpiece of impressionistic storytelling. We don't even care, as restless as we are. We feel the pull in the land of 1,000 guilts and poured cement, lamented and assured, to the lights and towns below. The line, "We don't even care," is the defiant mantra of youth, masking deep anxiety. They are being pulled towards adulthood, towards a world of responsibility symbolized by the poured cement of the sprawling suburbs. The second verse delves deeper into this transition. The street heats up, the chrome reflects our stare. We're just mortals in despair. This is that dawning self-awareness, the realization that you're not invincible. The despair isn't the suicidal despair of today, but the low-grade melancholy of adolescence, the fear of an ordinary, settled life.
Corgan has said the song is about waiting for something to happen and not being quite there yet, but it's just around the corner. This feeling is perfectly captured in the song's most famous line, that we don't even care, as restless as we are, we feel the pull. It's a recognition that this moment is a turning point. The innocence of childhood is fading, there's no going back. The music video for 1979 visually immortalized this theme, following a group of bored suburban teenagers through a day of aimless wandering and house parties. It was a pitch-perfect representation of the song's feeling, and it became one of the most beloved videos of the era. 1979 represents a moment of profound maturity in Corgan's songwriting. It's a song that is simultaneously specific to his own memories and broad enough to feel like everyone's story. It's the sound of a rearview mirror, a bittersweet glance back at the person you used to be before you hit the gas and drove into the rest of your life. Change has always been central to the Smashing Pumpkins' music, but in the late 90s, the band and Billy Corgan would face a series of events that would lead to their most radical reinvention yet. The period after the massive Melancholy tour was tumultuous. In 1996, touring keyboardist Jonathan Melvoin died of a heroin overdose, and drummer Jimmy Chamberlain, who was with him, was fired. Corgan was also going through a divorce, and most devastatingly of all, his mother, Martha, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. These events shattered the band's world. The rage and nostalgia that had fueled their biggest hits suddenly felt inadequate in the face of such profound real-world loss. The bombast of their previous work gave way to something quieter, more mournful and electronic. This new sound would define their fourth album, 1998's Adore. Adore was a commercial disappointment compared to what came before, and it confused a lot of fans. The heavy guitars were mostly gone, replaced by synths, drum machines, and a palette of muted, somber tones. But what it lacked in commercial punch, it more than made up for in emotional depth. Adore is not just an album, it's a monument to grief. More specifically, it's a tribute to Corgan's mother and his journey through losing her. Corgan has said the album is a celebration of his mother's spirit and her strength. It's not an album about the ugliness of dying, but about the enduring power of a mother's love. This theme is woven throughout the record, but it finds its purest expression in the album's emotional centerpiece, the 8-minute ballad For Martha. For Martha is arguably the most personal and emotionally raw song Billy Corgan has ever written. It is a direct address to his dying mother, a conversation that spans memory, regret, faith, and the terrifying finality of goodbye. The song is a journey in itself, moving through delicate piano, soaring guitar solos, and moments of hushed intimacy. For Martha is arguably the most personal and emotionally raw song Billy Corgan has ever written. It is a direct address to his dying mother, a conversation that spans memory, regret, faith, and the terrifying finality of goodbye. The song is a journey in itself, moving through delicate piano, soaring guitar solos, and moments of hushed intimacy. It begins with a quiet piano melody, and Corgan's voice, fragile and full of sorrow. If you have to go, don't say goodbye. If you have to go, don't you cry. This is a plea for a painless departure, a desire to protect both himself and his mother from the agony of a final farewell. He then drifts back into a childhood memory, a moment of simple maternal love. Someday I will follow you and see you on the other side. He's trying to hold on to the image of his mother, not as a patient dying from illness, but as the vibrant woman who raised him. The song's long instrumental passage, featuring one of Corgan's most emotional guitar solos, feels like a wordless expression of everything he can't say. It's a wave of sorrow, anger, and finally, a strange kind of acceptance. It's the sound of weeping. In the final verses, he offers his mother a final promise. Long horses we are born, creatures more than torn, mourning our way home. It is a dedication, a prayer, and an epitaph. To fully appreciate this song, you have to remember Disarm. The same woman whose presence during his abusive childhood fueled Corgan's earlier rage is now the subject of his most profound expression of love and grief. For Martha is the sound of a man who has come full circle, moving beyond the anger of his youth to find a way to embrace the complex, unconditional love he has for his mother. It's a song about forgiveness and the understanding that can only come with time and loss. Adore and For Martha may not be the most famous works in the Pumpkins' catalog, but they are arguably their most human. The music of the Smashing Pumpkins has always been a study in contrasts, loud and quiet, brutal and beautiful, angry and tender. But as we've seen, the biggest contrast is often between the surface of their songs and the deeply personal truths buried inside them. We've journeyed from the edge of the abyss with Today, a song of survival pretending to be a pop hit. We've stared into the heart of childhood trauma
with Disarm, a beautiful weapon made from unspeakable pain. We felt the frustration of fame in Bullet with Butterfly Wings, an anthem of rebellion against the very success the band had achieved. We've drifted through the bittersweet nostalgia of adolescence with 1979 and confronted the finality of death and love with For Martha. What connects all of these incredible songs is the unflinching honesty of their creator. Billy Corgan used his music as a form of public exorcism, turning his private hells into a shared universe of emotion. He laid his wounds bare for the world to see, and in doing so, he gave a voice to millions of others who felt that same sense of alienation, heartbreak, and rage. To know these stories is to understand the Smashing Pumpkins on a completely different level. It's to recognize the courage it takes to turn pain into art. The next time you hear these songs, you won't just hear the iconic riffs or the soaring choruses. You'll hear the stories of survival, the whispers of regret, and the defiant screams of a soul refusing to be silenced. You'll hear the real, human heart beating under all that noise. The Smashing Pumpkins' music is so personal that it connects with people in incredibly unique ways. We've shared the stories Billy Corgan has told, but now we want to hear yours. What Smashing Pumpkins song means the most to you, and why? Is there a lyric that has always felt like it was written just for you? Share your favorite song and what it means to you in the comments below. Let's talk about the music that saved our lives. Thanks for watching.